Hi there. I'm here to talk about being on an almost all-carnivore diet and why that seems to work for me and for other people and why I think that's the case. I went on pretty much an all-carnivore diet about a year ago after stumbling across a really interesting interview that Jordan Peterson, whom I really like, and I had read his book, 12 Rules for Life, and I saw that he had an interview with Joe Rogan where he talked about going on an all-carnivore diet. And in this interview, he mentioned that it basically cured his daughter, Michaela. Now, one of the things, for those of you who've read 12 Rules for Life, his book talks a lot about the health problems that his daughter had. I mean, it was really heartbreaking. And I mean, it brought tears to my eyes. I was like, oh my God, she's okay? I mean, I thought she was gonna die or something. And so one of the things I thought, if it helped them so much, it could probably be good for other people. Certainly try it. Certainly it's worth trying. I didn't have the same food sensitivities that they have, but I thought back to a lot of issues, and let me tell you why. These two books, these are tomes. You know, for those of you who've listened to my other videos, you know I love science. Good science, not religious. I shouldn't call it religion, because religion's not a bad thing. Politicized science, if you will. But anyway, these two books, Nina Teicholz's The Big Fat Surprise and Good Calories, Bad Calories by Gary Taubes. These are tomes, okay? But they're a history of the science of food recommendations and just how screwed up it is and has been. But I was particularly struck by some of the early studies that were done around the turn of the century, like the turn of the previous century, where some of these Inuit, Maasai communities where virtually all they ate was meat. Now, when I say meat, I mean they ate all parts of the animal. They ate the fat. They ate a lot of fat. The populations had very low, if any, cancers, heart disease, tooth decay, not even vitamin C or scurvy. And so that really struck me. And so here I am. It's been about a year. But prior to that, I was keto. Since 2010, I've been very low carb. And that came about because I've always been health conscious. I've always tried to gone with the latest health recommendations. But as many of you know from my previous videos, and thank you for, now I have over 900 subscribers. That's hard to believe, but it's really gratifying. As many of you know, looking into the science of climate change alarmism and seeing how poorly that was done, also taking care of my husband and researching his little medical issues as he aged and passed away. I saw that in medicine and definitely in food recommendations and pharmaceuticals and a whole host of other issues. The science is not good. When it comes to policies, committees setting up recommendations, in many cases, these are very politicized for whatever reason. So how does someone evaluate information as you're hit with all these recommendations? Like, we should be on a plant-based diet. Well, why is that? Why do you think we should be on a plant-based diet? What in the history of humans has ever said that we should mostly be on a plant-based diet? Think about that. Are we cows? Are we gorillas? They have these big stomachs. You have to have a big stomach to digest all the insoluble fiber in plants. I think we're mostly carnivores. And when I say carnivore, I mean every part of the animal, if you really want to be healthy. So one of the things that's interesting is I eat a lot. I eat a lot of animal fat. And yet I don't have a lot of fat on me. So at least in this one anecdotal evidence, and of course in other people that I know that are also doing this, they don't have fat on them. I actually think that if we eat in a more natural way, not in this human brain concocted way, that weight control, all of those things take care of themselves. I remember reading once that animals in the wild basically know when to stop eating. There's no like fat animals in the wild. So why do people put on weight? Why are these things, why is cancer such a big issue for people? You think it's toxins in the environment? There are so many less toxins in our environment now than there were in the past. So I don't buy that argument. By the way, I don't do any cancer screening whatsoever. And that really came about, I wasn't inclined to do a lot of cancer screening, but when I read Gilbert Welch's book, and I looked from my bookshelf, I couldn't find it. Gilbert Welch said, should you be tested for cancer? Maybe not, and here's why. And he really studied statistics. I believe it was from Dartmouth. Very, very good book. I first read about him in an interview in the New York Times back when I was reading the New York Times. And I just thought, I'm not worried about getting cancer. There's really not a history of cancer in my family, and I'm not going to go looking for trouble. But that's a whole other issue. Let's go back to the all-carnivore diet. And because I don't have food sensitivities, I allow myself to have a few things that I like dark chocolate occasionally. I love apples and peanut butter, but I only get a little slice of apple and I pack it on with the peanut butter. Okay. But I really, really, really work to keep sugars down. I was talking to someone once, and I've talked to people more than once, but in one particular conversation, I was talking to someone, and I said, even if I found out that sugars and carbs were, super okay for you, would I go back? And I don't think I would. Because one of the nicest things for me now, as compared to say 20 years ago, is I don't have food cravings. When I say food cravings, it used to be if I was hungry, or basically I guess my blood sugar would drop. I needed to eat right away. So I have a lot of sympathy for people who really feel a need to eat. And in fact, I can usually tell if a person eats a lot of carbohydrates, because if you do, that will definitely mess up your metabolism, and it's almost impossible to resist those cravings. So it's nice now. I can do intermittent fasting. I've gone on a week-long fast. That was hard. I did have coffee with heavy whipping cream, no sugar, and coconut oil and MCT oil. That's medium chain triglycerides. But for a whole week, I did it. But that takes commitment, so I haven't done that in over a year now. But I do like to do intermittent fasting, which I think has a lot of health benefits. And then I'll talk about that later. But But let's go back to how I evaluate now. How do I evaluate health information? Because there's a lot of health information coming at people from all kinds of places. And especially if you like to read and you like to keep up. First of all, when you see a new headline about some new study, some food study, like there was a ridiculous one saying eggs were bad for you. So I looked into that study. It was so poorly done, and yet it was I saw it on TV, I saw it on headlines. It's like, you got to ignore that stuff. Why would eggs be bad for you? Eggs are like the perfect food. I mean, they feed a growing chick or whatever, bird. They have so many good nutrients in it. And then I looked at the study, and one of the things I learned from these two books, these two tomes, is how hard it is to do a good food study. So I look to evolution. When I say I look to evolution and history, kind of in the same way I do with the whole climate alarmism thing. Like, why do we have warm periods in the past? How do you explain those when carbon dioxide levels weren't higher? And why would it just be we have a warm period now that's no different, say, than the medieval warm period, and we didn't have fossil fuel use at that time? So I look at that. And then also recommendations to have vegetable oils. Well, when did we have vegetable oils in the past? People didn't eat vegetable oil. That came later. So I stay, even olive oil. In one of these books, they talked about how they had a conference in the Mediterranean. And of course, everybody loves going to the Mediterranean, having this conference. And it kind of led to this whole promotion of olive oil. I'm not saying some olive oil is a bad thing, but why would you want to base your diet on olive oil? Also, if you cook with olive oil, or you cook with even a monosaturated fat, or definitely with a polyunsaturated fat, which most vegetable oils are, there's a lot of aging things that happen that are not good with those oils when they're cooked. But that's not at all true for animal fats or for coconut oil. So if you cook, you should always cook in animal fat or coconut oil, period. So I wonder what's going on with toxins. People are like, oh, gotta have a juice fast. Well, why would a juice fast be good for you? That makes no sense to me at all. That's just mucking with your body. That's too much of a concentrated sugar or concentrated something. Too many greens. Why would you need so many greens? If I think about how our bodies evolved, we probably ate vegetables, roots, or something sparingly. Most of the time, it was some kind of meat, bone, fat, organ meats. So I am not in favor of any kind of juice fasting. And then also, it's kind of interesting, if you look at people being concerned about toxins, and if you read, like, I don't know, 150 years ago, people then, they thought they had to have enemas and all this stuff. It's something psychological, like there's just this, I'm icky inside, and I gotta clear it out. Well, if you have healthy kidneys and healthy liver, that's what the liver and kidneys do. Your body can handle some toxins. Get over it and let your body do what it was meant to do. So that's why I'm on an almost all carnivore diet. Now, there's one place where I don't use this evolution filter. So I'm not entirely consistent on this point. And that is when it comes to trying to live a long time or anti-aging. Because while living healthy can help you live, hopefully, if you don't have genetic problems or other problems, while taking good care of yourself can help you live a long time, we're all destined to die. And I think what happens, as best I can tell from what I've read and studied, we basically run out of stem cells. So there's just no way your body can renew itself. And if nothing else gets you, and you have really good genes, you might go to 115, 120 years. But that's it. And most people start to fade about 90. It depends. If you have really good genes, you might really start fading at 95. But it is inevitable. So I take a ton of supplements related to aging. And perhaps sometime I'll make a video on that if people are interested about what I take and why. But in terms of evolution, in terms of low-cost therapies that people can do, let's look at sunlight. One of the most salient things that happened to the human race is as we came out of Africa, the further north you went, the lighter your skin became. So what does that indicate? It means there was a survival advantage in the higher latitudes to try to get more sun. And what are we doing now? Everybody's indoors. Everybody puts sunscreen on. We don't get enough vitamin D. So I take a lot of vitamin D. And I thought about it a lot. I did some research on my own. You know, what's so wonderful right now is you can do your own research. There's so much good information on the internet. There's papers you can read yourself. There's a lot that you can do. So I figured that 10,000 IU of vitamin D3 a day is the right amount. Even so, taking 10,000 IU, I can only get my vitamin D level up to 60 or so. I'd like it to get it close to 100. I forget what the units are, but it's supposed to be between 30 and 100. Lifeextension.org recommends 50 to 100, but I want to get closer to 100. So I experiment, because once a year I do a full-blown blood test that I do myself through lifeextension.org so I can have my own records. And so I experimented and said, okay, what happens if I go to 15,000 IU? Well, then it was 108. And of course, this level high. I don't think that's damaging, but I'm back down to 10,000 IU. So I think vitamin D is one. And here's another one that I've started just since a couple of years ago. I no longer wear sunglasses when I go outside. Now a lot of people think, oh, you need sunglasses. No, our eyes need light. We don't get enough light. And you can do your own research on that, but I found some benefits. For example, I was starting to need reading glasses, and I went to the lowest magnification possible, 1.25. And since I've quit wearing sunglasses, it hasn't gotten any worse. But I had always thought it had to do just with aging and how much you read. Well, my husband, who read a lot, he just never wore sunglasses. And he passed away at age 90, but he never needed reading glasses. And my stepson, Robert, who is 69, he never wears sunglasses. And he never needs reading glasses. And he's at the computer, and he reads a lot, does all that sort of thing. And now, of course, they're genetically related. Maybe it has something to do with that. But I certainly notice a difference for myself not wearing. I mean, I wear like a hat, so I don't get wrinkles around my eyes. I'm very into all that. And I do wear a lot of sunscreen, so I don't get too much sun. So my skin doesn't age. Anyway, so don't wear sunglasses. And it feels good. It's good for you. I think it's really good for you. And, you know, I go to a lot of Caltech lectures. I'm very active. I guess my social life is mostly involved somehow, one way or the other, with Caltech related activities. I'm on 3 chairs councils, which is pretty cool. But I'm often seeing, you know, people who study the eye, there's something related to the fact that you need light in your eye. Although they don't seem to make the connection that, hey, you need light in your eye, so don't wear sunglasses. I make the connection, they don't. But, I mean, like for age-related macular degeneration, you know, to me, one of the causes of that is the fact that your eye, you need light during the day to clear out the debris from your eye. Don't quote me on that, but that's what I took away from that. Another thing I do for health, and again, relating this to how our bodies evolved, is, you know, we live pretty comfortable lives these days. So I try to expose myself to some cold and heat. So I have an infrared sauna that I sit in to make myself sweat, because, you know, really, when do I really get hot and sweat? You know, I go on long walks, I do various things, but I don't get really hot, except in the sauna. And I have a cold tub. It's just cold water, but it's cold, okay? So I make myself go into that. And that's kind of cool. Sort of a double entendre there. But I like to expose my body to cold. So anyway, there's probably a lot I could talk about on this. Okay, wait. Let me go back to the vitamins. Like, what are the things that we need that, like, for that reason, I always make sure I get magnesium every day, because magnesium, apparently our soils now don't carry enough magnesium, and magnesium is involved in so many different things in your body. So that's a low-cost supplement I think people should really think about taking. And my God, if you get cancer or anything like that, just don't take any glucose at all. Go totally keto. I mean, or fast. Fasting has huge benefits. And do at least intermittent fasting. Do whatever you can. Finally, I want to mention one more, and that's this book I read in 2011 called Willpower, and it's by Roy Baumeister and John Tierney. John Tierney, he used to be a science writer for the New York Times. Very good. All the good science writers of the New York Times left. They used to have a really good science section. And he now writes for the Manhattan Institute. And I always read his articles. He's very good. But anyway, this book, Willpower, if I could sum it up, is that there is no such thing as willpower. It's all habits. It's that simple. So don't blame yourself if you have food cravings or you are having difficulty. I have great sympathy for people now. I remember, when people eat poorly, when they're doing this, maybe even when they drink, I don't know, I've never been a drinker. What are they doing? They're just trying to make themselves feel better. They're self-medicating. That's all we're trying to do. I mean, sometimes life is hard, and people are going to try to do what they can. So if you can just develop a habit, once you get a habit, and so you don't think about it, think about something you do daily. What's something you do daily that you don't think about, but it's a chore? For men, it might be shaving, although a lot of men aren't shaving right now, but brushing your teeth, I don't know, taking a shower. You don't have to oh God, I'm gonna take a shower. I hate to take a shower. No, you just do it. You don't even think about it. So whenever you can get habits going where you don't even think about it, it's just automatic. And that's one of the nice things about getting older. I gotta tell you. I mean, things that used to be a problem just aren't a problem. I have really good habits. I keep my house clean. I do my chores. I make my bed. I just sort of do the things I need to do. And if I'm struggling with something, it either means I haven't developed a habit or I really don't want to do it. And I just haven't faced that fact. So I try to analyze it and figure it out. Okay, I basically have said why I'm on an all-carnivore diet. You would not believe the amount of animal fat. It's pretty funny. I like to shock people with that. In closing, let me just say, because I know a lot of my supporters or subscribers, I call them supporters, but they're subscribers. Let me just say a few words about Trump, whom I love. It's just amazing to me. I don't. Okay, I just was watching the Wall Street Journal report on Fox News, and they were talking about, some polls said that Joe Biden was 11 points ahead in a poll in Pennsylvania. And I just laughed. That tells you nothing. That tells you nothing. Can you imagine Joe Biden? I mean, because right now, people don't know a lot about Joe Biden. So they just see his smiling face. First of all, he's way too old. And in my why Trump will win in 2020 video, I talk about some not very positive things about Joe Biden. But he will kill him in the debates. Joe Biden has nothing in his record to run on. If that's the best the Democrats can do, they're in deep trouble. They're in deep trouble. Because right now, if you just ask somebody, and of course it depends on how the question's asked. When somebody says, yeah, I like Joe Biden, or yeah, I would vote for Joe Biden. But when it actually came down to it, oh my God, that would be a disaster. But I have no worries on that score. Trump is definitely going to win in 2020. And he's just been our best president ever. So I know that's a little bit off the subject here, but I thought I'd add that. And thank you for all of you who've commented on my videos. It's just amazing, the technology today, and I'm gratified beyond words, and I appreciate it. I'd love to hear your thoughts. There's so many smart people out there with really thoughtful things to say, and I'm just gratified that they take the time to do it. And I hope you have enjoyed this video. Talk to you later.